All right, so at the top of your paper, so we can refer to it, we're going to write the quadratic formula. So x equals negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So there's your quadratic formula. So just like with factoring, we have to make it equal 0 first, right? Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and add the 9 to the other side. And I'm going to go ahead and subtract the 6x to the other side. So we're making it equal 0. Kaylee, you writing it down? So we have 2x squared. 15 minus 6? 9. Plus 9x minus 18. And we don't even have to worry about factoring it today because that's not what we're doing. We're doing quadratic formula. So what's your A? What's your B? What's your C?
The 2x squared is your A.
Okay, but not the whole thing, just the 2. So the 2 is your A.
And then 9 is the B. And
B.
then negative 18 is the C.
Okay. So the beginning of the formula says negative b, and so what's negative b? Negative 9 plus or minus, and then what do we write? 9 squared. Okay. All over. Okay. And instead of plugging the whole thing in all at once, we just plug in the part underneath the square root sign because we don't know if it's going to be a negative or not. So I have 9 squared minus 4 times 2 times negative 18. $225. Yeah, that's fine. There's a calculator in the back if you want to grab it. All right, so we have negative 9 plus or minus the square root of 225 over 4. Is 225 a perfect square?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So the square root of 225 is 15. Okay, so what we have is negative 9 plus or minus 15 over 4. Do you guys remember how we can use our calculators to get the fraction on the screen? Yeah, you press the green button, alpha. Alpha y equals, and then the first one lets you have a numerator over a denominator. The second one lets you have a whole number, and then a numerator over a denominator. And then the third one, that lets you convert back and forth between an improper fraction and a mixed number. So that's what all those things mean. So typically we're not going to use the other two, we're just going to use the first one. So I'm going to go ahead and type in negative 9 plus 15 over 4. 3 over 2. And then, do you remember how I get it back on the screen without typing it again? Yeah, I can go up to it and see where it's highlighted and then press enter and it will pull it back up on the screen again. And now I can go back and change the plus to a minus. And so that's how I do plus or minus. I just do it twice. So negative 6. All right, did everyone choose their color for A? Or for number 1, I mean. All right, what color should I put? Blue. Light blue, dark blue?
Dark blue.
Dark blue.
No.
Okay, so 3 halves and negative 6. We're looking for that number. It's E. E is 3 halves and negative 6. They just wrote it as a decimal. So E, the answers are on the very back page. So E is the answer for number 1. So if I look at the picture, E is the shoes And so his shoes are going to be dark blue for me.
I have the red shoes.
All right, let's go ahead and do the next one, number 2. All right, what should I do first? Make it equal 0, so I'm going to minus 11x squared and add 6. So I have 11x squared plus 5x minus 11. And so there's my A, there's my B, there's my C. No. All right, so what do I start writing?
-5.
Plus or minus?
Square root, and then it's 5 squared. Minus 4. Minus 4 times 11. Times 3.
Okay. All divided by?
2 times 11.
Okay. That was a lot of 11s. You don't like 11s?
I don't like 11.
I like the character a lot. I just don't like the number.
So when I'm asking you what the discriminant is, what am I talking about? The number underneath the square root sign. Okay, so the discriminant is 509. Is that a perfect square or not a perfect square? It's not a perfect square. So what does that mean about the answers we're going to get if the discriminant is not a perfect square? Yeah, they're going to be funky decimals. Do you guys know the proper math word for that? It starts with an I. Irrational. They're going to be irrational answers. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and type this in. No zoom. All right. We've got alpha y equals, so on the top, -5 plus the square root of 509 divided by 22. So I'm going to go ahead and do 3 decimal places. I have 0.798. The 8 is followed by a 2, so I'm not going to round up. I'm just going to leave it. So 0.798. Why did I do a squiggly equal sign? Yeah, it means approximately. I rounded, so I'm telling the person who's looking at my paper that I rounded. All right, now I'm going to go up and grab that one and change it to a minus. Does anyone have a 70, or not a 73, an 83 calculator? So I need to show you how to plug it in. Okay. Anyone else have an 83? Okay. Does anyone have a calculator that looks like this, but you couldn't do the fraction thing? Okay, so we need to update yours. Okay. All right. Yours didn't do it? Okay, so we can update yours as well. Okay. All right. So we have 0.798 and -1.253. Okay, so what color should I do? Orange.
Dark orange.
Dark orange. Yeah.
No, it is not. It's not existent. Imaginary.
You can make it dark.
It's not a color.
You can make it dark. All right, so 0.798, -1.253. It's F. I think that's also on the shoes. Yep. So his shoes are orange and blue. Please do.
Yes, I'm gonna be like my math class.
All right. Let's do one more.
Let's do 7 more.
Let's do all of that.
Can we do 7 all?
13.
We're gonna do number 5.
I knew it. You were staring at me.
We're going to do number 5. All right. How do I start number 5?
Minus and then plus 11.
Yep, making it equal 0.
And then plus 6.
And then plus 6x.
Minus 2x.
All right, so what's my A, my B, and my C?
9 is A. 2 is B. And 23 is C.
Okay. So the first thing we have to do is we have to write negative B. So I'm going to say negative of negative 2. And what happens when I do that? It becomes a positive. Okay. And then when we square negative 2, we have to be careful to put it in parentheses. If you do not, you will get the wrong answer. The temperature has been the same in the room this entire time.
I walked in, I was like, oh, it's actually kind of warm in here now.
And but it's 70. It was 70 then, it's still 70.
I felt like
It's cold.
It's a cold 70. So we have b squared minus 4 times.
Oh, times times 9.
Times 9.
Times 23.
Negative 23 divided by
2 times
2 times 9. Ooh, that was a struggle. Okay, so now we'll go ahead and figure out what the discriminant is. All right, so we have 2 plus or minus the square root of 832. It's a big one. Is that a perfect square?
No.
No, definitely not. All right, so this one's ready to plug in. So we have 1.713. The 3 is followed by a 5. So what do I do? I round up. So I have x is approximately 1.714 because the 3 was followed by a 5. I can go up and grab it, change it to a minus, and I get negative 1.491. What color should I do for this one?
Purple.
Gray.
Light purple.
Gray. Light purple. I'll agree with that.
Okay, so the answer to number 5 is what letter? I. So I is the house. So I have a light purple house.
Oh, I have a gray house. I have a purple house.
All right. So we're okay with that. I do want to direct your attention to number 6. I'm not going to do the problem for you, but something weird is going to happen. What do you guys see about number 6? Yeah, so we're going to minus 10x and minus 10x to make it equal 0, and then the x term is completely gone. We just have 3x squared plus 12. That makes a lot of people uncomfortable, so I'm going to go ahead and show you what I would do. I would say 3x squared plus 0x plus 12 equals 0, and you can still do it. Why did I write it like that? So now I know what my b is. My b is 0. Okay?
Oh, wait. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the b disappeared, and if the b disappeared, you can just use 0 for b. Does that make sense? It went away, so we can use it. All right. I think that's the only one that had something weird like that happen. Oh, yeah. It happens on number 14 as well. So look at number 14. How should we rewrite 14? so that we can see all three terms.
What did you want?
So we can say 0 equals, I'm going to do the -5 first, plus 0x plus 20. Okay, and then I have my A, my B, and my C. When we are factoring, we typically avoid having a -x² term because it's harder to factor. But when you're doing the quadratic formula, it does not matter. You will get the same answers regardless. Okay? All right. So go ahead and work on that. You are welcome to get your colors now. That's totally fine.